Whenever you face a mirror at night and call out Candyman 5 times in a row, a monster known as the Candyman is said to emerge from the glass. The Candyman appears as an African American man in a trench coat. He earned his name because, in life, he was drenched in honey and tortured to death. Legend has it he's trapped in the mirror, and once summoned, he brutally slaughters anyone outside. Ruth was born into a poor African American family. As part of society's underclass, her life was tough from the start. At 20, she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and could only survive on government aid. By middle age, seeking better opportunities, 48-year-old Ruth moved into a public housing project in Chicago, hoping for a fresh start. As the saying goes, misfortune always strikes the weakest link. Bad luck seems to pile onto the unfortunate, and the horrifying events that later befell Ruth would make her a nationwide sensation. In the 1950s, the U.S. government rolled out welfare relocation policies, encouraging impoverished people to move to more developed areas. This historic migration saw about 6 million African Americans shift from the South to the Midwest. Like many others, Ruth moved into the Obla housing project in Chicago's near West Side, made up of 4 independent public housing units. The project was meant to provide low-income families with housing security. But over time, it turned into a deeply terrifying place. Ruth's home was at 1440 West 13th Street. Just days after arriving, she found the community's layout bizarre. Each apartment building stood alone, disconnected from any streets. Between them stretched a vast open area, linked by 2 dead-end roads, forming an odd symbol. Because the buildings were detached from the streets and the open space served no purpose, it created a strange sense of isolation. Worse still was the design of the apartments. Ruth's building at 1440 West 13th Street was a massive Y-shaped structure with unusually long corridors that felt both vast and uncanny. From a distance, the whole building resembled a giant coffin. Ruth, a paranoid schizophrenic, was intensely neurotic, fearing invisible threats. The community was almost entirely African American, and several gangs, like the Vice Lords and Gangster Disciples, had sprung up locally. These gangs fought over turf, the buildings fell into disrepair, and the elevators often malfunctioned, reportedly crushing people to death. Multiple murders had occurred too. In the hallways, kids were often seen hurling bricks and bottles at each other. Every corner made Ruth uneasy. But unable to afford anything better, she had no choice but to stay. What Ruth faced next would soon defy scientific explanation. The strange events began in 1987. That year, Ruth saw a TV shopping program claiming to be from a church. The pastor on screen promised to help desperate people find good fortune. The key method was buying luck-boosting items. Ruth's life was bitter, but she clung to one hope: leaving this place to live with her grandson, which required a healthy body. Chicago's government gave Ruth monthly disability subsidies, and she poured all that money into the TV shopping scheme. She bought a pile of blessed items, holy water, consecrated wood, and more. But 2 months later, her condition worsened. So the TV pastor taught her a new method called a miracle. Ruth was to face a mirror daily, repeatedly telling herself her body was improving, then carefully observe any changes. The pastor called it a spirit summoning ritual, claiming it could cure insomnia, cancer, and even hair loss. But he warned it required sincerity, otherwise, it might summon a demon instead of a miracle. So every night, Ruth followed the pastor's instructions, praying into the mirror over and over. For the first few days, nothing happened. Then one night, she noticed something bizarre: footsteps echoing from the mirror. At first, Ruth thought it was a neighbor, but she quickly dismissed that. The mirror she spoke to was a medicine cabinet in her bathroom, a standard feature in Obla housing. The sound seemed to come from right behind the mirror, and possibly close, unless someone was inside the cabinet. Seeing the miracle finally respond, Ruth felt both nervous and thrilled. She spoke to the mirror about her plight, begging for a better body to be with her grandkids. Astonishingly, a knocking sound came from the glass, as if answering her. Whether it was psychological or not, as days passed, Ruth felt better, like her bad luck was being drained from her body. But things soon veered into the uncanny. A few days later, the sounds behind the cabinet shifted. The footsteps multiplied from 1 to 2, and faint voices emerged, like two people arguing inside. The more she listened, the weirder it felt. The sounds were almost hypnotic. Ruth asked the pastor, but he said he'd never heard of such a thing. Days later, the noises grew closer. At first, she had to press her ear to the mirror to hear them, but now, standing in the bathroom, they were crystal clear. With no explanation for where the sounds came from and their frequency rising, Ruth grew increasingly terrified. She avoided the bathroom and stopped praying into the mirror. But one night in mid-April, while bathing, she heard footsteps again, accompanied by faint voices of multiple people talking. In sheer panic, she cautiously pressed her ear to the mirror. This time, she heard it clearly, a man's voice repeating, I'm here, I'll catch you soon." In that moment, Ruth realized she hadn't summoned a miracle, she'd called forth a demon. In late April 1987, tenants at 1440 noticed an eerie sight, a woman in her 50s, wearing 2 pairs of pants, going door to door, twisting every doorknob. She'd shake each one hard, checking if it was locked. One 11th floor resident left their door ajar. The woman burst in, screaming that a demon was coming, her eyes fixed on the bathroom mirror. Spooked by her bizarre behavior, neighbors called the police. Investigation revealed this was Ruth McKee, a paranoid schizophrenic with habits tied to social isolation, like frequent self-talk and imagining non-existent threats. After moving in, Ruth had received treatment at a nearby psychiatric hospital, where she'd been stable. But recently, her condition had plummeted, showing signs of full-blown schizophrenia. Strangely, she often mentioned something in her room's mirror, hinting at severe hallucinations. The police released Ruth, but days later, she was back twisting doorknobs. Deeming her a mental health case, they felt powerless. Each time they let her go, she'd mutter with her head down, "There's something in the house. This building isn't safe." No one knew it then, but this was an extreme warning sign. On April 22, 1987, at 8:45 p.m., the local dispatch center got a call from Ruth. She fearfully described mirror-related events, saying people were emerging from it. But her words were incoherent, so the dispatcher hung up. Minutes later, another tenant from the same building called about terrifying noises, prompting police to head to the scene. Ruth's apartment was Unit 1109 on the 11th floor. Police knocked for ages, met only by silence. They called her phone, ringing echoed inside, but no one answered. After asking around and hearing no odd reports, they left. The next day, a friend of Ruth grew worried. She hadn't shown up as planned. 2 days earlier, Ruth had mentioned weird things at home, something trying to come out of her mirror. He dismissed it as nonsense, but with her missing for 2 days, unease drove him to call the police. On the afternoon of April 23, police returned. Still no sound from within. They considered breaking in, but a security guard warned that Ruth might complain, so they left again. Ruth's friend called a repairman to open the door. He shouted her name and saw religious books and pamphlets strewn across the floor. Eerily, the place had no furniture, no TV, no fridge, like it had been stripped bare. Ruth's friend reached the bedroom and found a body twisted on the floor, blood pooling beneath. It was Ruth, long dead. He screamed in terror, then froze as his gaze hit the bathroom. Where the medicine cabinet once stood was now a gaping black hole, its depths unfathomable. Everything Ruth said was true, something had come from the mirror. An autopsy confirmed Ruth had been dead for about 10 hours, shot 4 times, bullets piercing her left shoulder, thigh, and chest. Police deduced it was a gang robbery murder, likely involving at least 2 culprits. Through the hole in the bathroom wall, they found a vast space. Examining it closely, they unraveled a chilling truth. Architect Oscar Newman studied U.S. high-rises and found crime rates tied to building height and distance from streets. Taller, more complex structures far from roads breed crime, hinting at easy hiding and lawlessness. The Obla project, where Ruth lived, was a textbook case. Built to offer the underprivileged a warm home, its odd design, mixed crowds, and neglected poor made it a hotbed for crime, double the city average. What many didn't know was Obla's bizarre flaw: nearly every apartment's bathroom had a medicine cabinet. Behind each was an open utility shaft connecting all the bathrooms. Unscrew the cabinet, remove it, and anyone could enter the shaft. Push open a neighbor's cabinet from the other side, and you'd step into their home like passing through a sci-fi portal. For gang members, this was a playground. They roamed the shafts, robbing at will. For regular tenants, it was a nightmare. Every night, unseen figures crawled behind their walls. Before Ruth's death, break-ins had happened. One tenant saw someone leap from their bathroom, grab items, and stroll out the front door. In mid-April 1987, scammed by a TV ad, Ruth began praying to her mirror. Unbeknownst to her, thugs lurked near the shaft. The sound she heard, every one, was from killers and criminals. Police suspect the shaft dwellers learned of Ruth's monthly disability checks, plotting to rob and kill her. They started with pranks to scare her. Already unstable, her condition spiraled, triggering severe hallucinations and auditory delusions of demons in the mirror. Worried for others, she twisted doorknobs daily, warning neighbors of danger. No one believed her. Around 8:40 p.m. on April 22, several thugs dismantled Ruth's cabinet and broke through. She was resting in her bedroom when she heard them. Trembling, she staggered to the bathroom and faced a mind-bending sight. Her medicine cabinet was gone, replaced by a black hole. 2 dark hands emerged, followed by a shadowy head crawling out. Unable to tell reality from hallucination, Ruth fled to her bedroom and called the police. Too frantic to explain clearly, she stammered, "Someone's coming from the mirror." Dispatch didn't act in time. After hanging up, strangers filled her room. They fired 4 shots at her, then looted everything valuable, her TV, fridge, and furniture. Not fatally wounded yet, Ruth watched them haul it all away. By afternoon, when police knocked, lung damage silenced her cries for help. They left, and she died in despair. In late April 1987, police arrested a young man named Edward in a nearby unit. They found Ruth's TV in his home, but other suspects slipped away. Edward denied involvement in the murder. With dozens crawling the shafts nightly, police couldn't pin him down, and he walked free. Ruth's killers remain at large. The safety flaws exposed by Ruth's case led to Obla's overhaul in the late 1990s, after which local crime rates gradually dropped. On April 23, 1987, when police entered Ruth's home, they found a religious magazine by the bathroom cabinet, detailing a woman's prayer-fueled recovery. Imagine Ruth praying to her mirror daily, hoping for divine rescue from her plight. But the tragic truth is this mentally ill woman was first scammed by a TV ad, then tormented relentlessly by ruthless thugs. She tried to save herself and warn others of danger, but everyone dismissed her as crazy. It's hard to fathom the terror and despair she felt when strangers emerged from her mirror and brutally killed her.